Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I really hope you're all well. We're doing another video today. We are doing a books that I need to read before I travel again, aka basically a November TBR because I'm traveling at the end of November. And this pile is a little ambitious. I'm filming this, by the way, at the start of November. I'm not 100% sure when this will go up. Hopefully it will go up nearish to the start of the month. But yes, I am traveling again on the 30th. I'm going back to America. I'm sure you guys will not be surprised after all the chats I've kind of had on this channel over the last 12 months. I'm going back to Florida to see my loved ones for 2 weeks before the holidays kick in, and I'm so excited. But I'm wanting to make sure I've done kind of like the bulk of my reading before I go, because I'm going to get back basically just before Christmas. So obviously things are going to be super busy with work, and things are going to be super busy with uni and just tying up everything for the year. So I'm going to try and get through most of this big pile that I've got in front of me now before I go. So basically wish me luck, and I'm going to just like get into talking through these books with you so you can see what I want to read. Some of these are chunky as well, so I'm honestly looking at this and starting to wonder if I'm maybe a little bit clinically insane. But then also I did film a video similar to this earlier on in the year, and I listed a load. I think I listed like 13 books I wanted to read in like the 2 weeks or something before I travelled, and I managed to read like a majority of them. So I'm hoping that I can bring that same energy to this pile and just get them read. But without further ado, without further rambling, it's been 1 minute 50 of me rambling so far. I'm just gonna jump straight into the books. Anyway, The Art of Happiness by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Howard C. Cutler. So this book was actually lent to me by one of my friends out in the States, which is the reason why I want to finish it before I go. I'm about halfway through, so it shouldn't take me too long. But he lent this to me before I left, and obviously I want to be able to bring it back and return it to him. But this book is covered in dust. I haven't actually picked this up since I got back, so I think this might be on my reading plans for today. But this is essentially a conversation that Howard C. Cutler has had with the Dalai Lama about happiness and how to find happiness and enlightenment and acceptance within yourself, and just how to, I guess, become that more enlightened being that is often mentioned in like Buddhist teachings. It's not a Buddhist handbook or anything by any stretch of the imagination. It doesn't doesn't preach any like Buddhist ideology or anything like that. It is purely just kind of a conversation between the two, and it is Howard C. Cutler essentially picking the Dalai Lama's brains and almost breaking down some of the expectations that you would have on his perception of happiness and his perception of enlightenment as a religious figure. So it's very interesting, and there's definitely some moments of it that I found particularly helpful with regards to kind of reframing my reactions to certain kind of incidents, let's say, and I guess it just helps you to figure out how you're reacting to things, because this is all about you taking responsibility for your own happiness rather than putting that responsibility on somebody else's shoulders, which I think is really interesting. So yeah, it's a great book. I really have enjoyed what I've read so far, but I do struggle when it comes to picking up non-fiction, as I think I've spoken about a few times on this channel. So I just haven't been kind of prioritising it since I got back. But yeah, I really want to finish reading this before I go back to the States so I can give this back to my friend. And I'm curious to see what other pearls of wisdom the Dalai Lama will impart in this book as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to finishing this. Next up we have Tower of Dawn by Sarah J Maas. I feel like I've actually featured this on a couple of my TBR kind of videos this year. But for anyone who doesn't know, I've been embarking on a reread of the Throne of Glass series with my friend. She's reading it for the first time. I'm reading it for the I don't even know how many times and for anyone who has watched my previous Sarah J Maas related videos, this is my least favourite book that she's ever written, not just in the Throne of Glass series but just in every single book that she's ever written, and it's because this follows Chaol, and I'm just not a fan of Chaol as a character. I don't like him. I find him problematic. I find him irritating. Everything about him gives me the ick. And I just really don't like the guy. But at the same time, this book does have its strong points. You know, if you're reading the series as a whole, there's a lot of tidbits mentioned in this that sets up Kingdom of Ash really well. There's a lot of stuff mentioned in here that makes you understand things that have happened earlier on in the series really well. So it is a good book. I just don't like kale and I can't get excited about reading it, but I really want to have read this before I leave, because Kingdom of Ash I want to read when I get back before the end of the year. So yeah, this has to be kind of a priority, and I know I will sail through it. I just don't look forward to reading it because I just hate kale so much. But on the flip side, I do remember the first time I read that book and the very ending, the little epilogue that you're given. Oh my god, I remember reading that and being like and then I had to wait several years before Kingdom of Ash was released, and it was very sad. Very, very sad. Anyway. Next we have Even When You're Gone and Now Open Your Eyes by Nicole Fiorina, which is the second and third book in the Stay With Me trilogy. So I read Stay With Me when I was away in Mexico. I think you guys may have seen bits of that in a vlog. To be honest, that whole 2-week period in Mexico was understandably a little bit of a blur, and I can't really remember what I showed you guys and what I didn't. But this book was one of those that I thought was going to emotionally affect me more than it did. But I equally still had a really enjoyable reading experience. I'm just flipping back through my copy, and there's some lovely sections that I've highlighted and stuff in here, and it was an enjoyable read, and I am looking forward to finishing the trilogy, obviously, because I bought the next 2 books. So, and to give you a little bit of an overview of what the trilogy is about, it's about Mia and Ollie. Mia is American and she is kind of a troubled teen. So she's shipped off to like a reformatory school in the UK specifically for teenagers with kind of mental health problems, and teenagers that are dealing with trauma and all sorts of vices, addictions, that kind of thing. And the school is quite strict, so obviously you've got your lessons, and then you've also got your like therapy and stuff as well, which is like a big part of it. And then they also have like a secondary wing for students that are just a little bit too far gone to be with like the main student body. So it almost acts as like a kind of psychiatric unit as well, I guess. Anyway, Mia arrives. She really doesn't really want to be interacting with anybody, but then she meets Ollie and she meets a group of students that she becomes friendly with, and it's all about her kind of like acceptance and her finding her way, and there's a little bit of a romance and everything else, and it is a good book. Like I say, I think it would have affected me a lot more if I'd read it as a teenager. I think I'd have had a bigger emotional attachment to it if I'd read it as a teenager, and I can imagine myself at like 17 in the peak of like the Tumblr era absolutely obsessing over something like this. This would have become like my whole personality, similarly to how like Twilight did for a little while when I was a teen. But yeah, I read it as a late 20s instead, and obviously it hasn't had quite the same hard-hitting reaction. However, I did really enjoy it. So this was from Mia's perspective. I believe this one is from Ollie's perspective, which is going to be really interesting because of how the first one ended. It ends on a bit of like a cliffhanger, so I'm curious to see how that is dealt with in here. And then I actually don't want to have a look at the back of the third one just in case it spoils anything for me, but I would imagine it either takes the perspective of somebody else in the group, or it will just wrap up everything that's happened between Mia and Ollie in these 2 books. So anyway, yeah, I'm excited to finish these. I think they'll be fairly quick reads, so I'm not too worried about getting them done before I travel, but yeah, I'm excited to read them. Next we have one that everybody's talking about at the moment, and that is The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I am so happy I got my hands on this copy because I'm just obsessed with the cover on the self-published edition, and obviously she has now amazingly been picked up, I think, by Tor Publishing in the UK, which is just fantastic. So I'm so happy for her. But as far as I'm aware, this book is like a dark academia. I realised I pronounced dark academia as dark academia. I think it's just like a regional thing from where I'm from in the UK. It feels really weird to say dark academia, but I know someone mentioned it in one of my previous videos, and I can understand why that must have been so annoying. So I'm going to try and not pronounce it that way, even though it feels so weird for me to say. But anyway, yeah, so this is a dark academia novel, and I believe it kind of surrounds a group of people who are trying to become, like, I think it's academicians. I think that's how you pronounce it, but they basically, it's all to do with like the Library of Alexandria and like protecting the Library of Alexandria. From what I've heard, the characters in this are supposed to be super like morally grey, so you don't really like root for any particular one, and the character building is supposed to be really, really great, and I think there's like a magic system and stuff as well, so I'm honestly really excited. I've tried not to read too much about it because I don't want to accidentally spoil myself. I keep doing that at the minute on Booktok, where I will be just on my FYP and I will just get spoiled for loads of books that I really want to read, so I'm trying to like not look at too much on the internet about this. But yeah, so like I said, I think these guys, there's like 6 of them, and they are like competing to become guardians of the Library of Alexandria. So yeah, I'm very excited. Then I have another second and third installment of a trilogy. So this is Shadow of Night and the Book of Life, which are the second and third installments of the All Souls trilogy, aka A Discovery of Witches, by Deborah Harkness. I can't wait to finish these off because there is the TV adaptation of A Discovery of Witches available, and I'm refusing to watch it until I've read the whole trilogy, just again to avoid spoilers. But I read A Discovery of Witches earlier in the summer, right before I travelled. I think that was in my last prior to traveling TBR kind of video. And yeah, I'm really excited to read these and just find out more about what happens between Diana and Matthew. The only thing I don't like about these is that this cover for some reason is like shiny and the rest are all matte, so it really annoys me. I just like the little things. For anyone who is unaware of what A Discovery of Witches is about, Diana is a reluctant witch. She is a professor at Cambridge, and one day she just kind of stumbles across this book in the library at Cambridge, which is this like magical volume, and she ends up getting rid of it. She just hands it back into the library. It's not kind of relevant to her research, and she doesn't see it again. But after she finds that book, all of a sudden a huge number of mythical creatures like vampires, witches, and everything in between kind of descends upon Cambridge, because they all want to get their hands on this book as well, because it holds like the secret to supernatural life. So Diana ends up becoming kind of embroiled with Matthew in a way to save that book from falling into the wrong hands. But there's a whole lot of other stuff that goes on, and it's honestly wonderful. And of course there's a little bit of a love story as well, and I like it more for the actual plot than for the love story. I think it's not the greatest love story, but it is great, and I'm obsessed. I can't wait to finish it. Then we have The Maidens by Alex, I can never pronounce his last name, Michaelides? We'll go with Michaelides. I believe this has kind of secret history vibes, which I'm so excited for, because we all know that is a book that I love. But this is again a dark academia, and it is, I think, a professor that's killed somebody. And yeah, okay, so this is kind of like a group of students in a very high profile kind of college, so very much like The Secret History. And yeah, it is kind of the professor who is a little bit sinister, and he knows a lot about these murders that have happened, like a little bit too much, and they're obviously investigating to see if he is the perpetrator. And just looking at the cover, like with the ancient Greek statue and stuff on it, I do think this is going to have a lot of the same kind of ties that The Secret History has in terms of what it speaks about with regards to kind of linking ancient Greek mythology to this story and what goes on within this kind of group. So yeah, I'm excited. I also love this edition with the black sprayed edges. I think it's beautiful. And like, look at the inside. And I think my edition is signed as well. Yes, it is. Look at that. So yeah, I'm really excited to read this. I think this is going to be quite a quick read, so again, hoping to get that done before I travel. Okay, so next up we have Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff, and this is one where I'm honestly not too sure what it's about. All I know is that there's a vampire that has been like in power for a very, very, very long time, and the whole world's kind of within his thrall, I guess, and a group of people are trying to overthrow him, and I think to do that they have to find the Holy Grail. Or that's as much as I understand anyway, but I do think I could be very, very wrong with this. But yeah, I'm very, very excited to read this. Like, I had a look at the first page, and honestly the first line had me absolutely howling with laughter, and I just think it's going to be a very interesting novel. And I know J. Kristoff is quite a controversial character within the literary world. I haven't actually ever read Nevernight. I do have it on my physical TBR. I picked it up ages ago and then have just never got around to it because I've read a few things about it that make me feel just like a little bit uncomfortable. But I did want to give this a go because I think it's supposed to be very different from Nevernight, and I'm hoping that it won't be problematic, but we will see. I have read a couple of J. Kristoff's other things. I read the Illuminate trilogy. Obviously that's co-written, so that might be why it wasn't wasn't so bad, but I did enjoy that, so I'm open to this one. I'm excited to see what it's going to be like. Again, obsessed with that cover. Just look at that, it's beautiful. It's huge. And then the last one I'm also incredibly intimidated about. This one is another dark academia, and this one is Plain Bad Heroines by Emily Danforth. I think this is a sapphic, and again it's set at like a boarding school, and there's been some murders, and I think it's like a group of girls having to investigate why these murders were taking place on school grounds. Yeah, I'm really excited. And something to do with like wasps or something for the murders, which makes me feel a little bit weird because I am actually like kind of phobic of wasps, so I don't know how I'm going to find that. But I think this has like some illustrations in it as well. I'm just going to flip through, and yeah, I'm so excited to read this. I haven't actually heard so much about it since it's come out, so I'm curious to see what people are thinking, because I remember it had like a little bit of hype when it was first released, and then just like nobody's kind of said anything about it since that I've seen. So yeah, I'm curious. And again, it's huge, but I will read this before I go. I'm determined. So anyway, you guys, that is my ridiculously ambitious pile of books that I want to read in the next 24 days. So wish me luck. I do have a full-time job, a degree that I'm doing, and I'm also trying to write my first book. So I don't know if I'm going to have the time to get through all of those, but we love a challenge and God loves a try it. So here we are. If you have enjoyed the video, please do give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books. Obviously, please keep things spoiler free, but let me know if you've enjoyed them, and if you think you have any recommendations based upon these kind of books as well that you think I will enjoy, let me know. And of course, if you're new, please don't forget to subscribe. It would mean the world to me. I'm so close to my first 1,000 subscribers. I can't actually believe it. Like, it is mind-blowing, and I'm so grateful to every single one of you. So thank you so much, and I will see you in my next video very soon. Bye guys.